I mean, the drums I kind of fell into. It was something where I'd started out on a different instrument in school band, and it just wasn't working out for me. And the teacher just moved me to the drums. So it wasn't a choice. I didn't look up to drummers as a kid, but I was also really young. I was like 5.5. So this is early on in school, like kindergarten level. And then, being stuck on the drums and actually being bummed about it because I was already playing the instrument I wanted to play. I was just fortunate enough that my parents supported it and got me drum lessons and eventually rented a drum set, or a snare drum at first, then a drum set. So that's kind of how it all went. And I think it was the only thing that I had. I didn't have any other hobbies, maybe skateboarding and BMX racing and stuff, but it was the only hobby I could do at school. And so I just stuck with it, even though I never considered myself a drummer as a younger guy. But it was like, well, they offer school band for 3 different periods. Those are 3 periods of school that I don't have to take a real class. I'll do jazz band, wind ensemble, concert band. I'll do anything that says band in it. And that's kind of how I got started with drums. I stuck with it all the way through high school. Graduated high school, started going to like a junior college just so I could keep playing music in some sort of organized format, keep working on my sight reading and charts and all of that. And then, during those high school years, I started a band with my friends called Simon Says, and just a local band. But at that same time, especially when I was graduating high school, the scene in Sacramento was kind of becoming the new Seattle. We had Seattle while I was in high school that blew up with all of the grunge era. And then all of a sudden, Sacramento, we had this band that was literally like a guy and a trumpet, and it was like quirky music. And it was a band called Cake. And they got signed, and we were like, oh my God, the band that we literally play at coffee houses with just got a big record deal. I mean, because this was still at the time where we had real legitimate record deals. And then right after that, Deftones got signed. And we were like, oh my God. Like, so now we've got 2 groups of friends that have record deals that came out of this town that no one would ever consider for music. But our scene was exploding, and our local bands were playing to, maybe 3,000 people a night like, we couldn't play clubs. We had to play theaters, and these are just local unsigned bands. The scene was really happening, and emo was starting, like between here and New York, it was happening. And then another band called Far got a record deal. And then so that's kind of how all of a sudden we had some dreams, was our friends were getting record deals. And so age wise, Cake, Deftones, and Far are like one group of guys, they're 3 years older than us. So we looked up to them. And then for our age group, it was us and a band called Papa Roach, and we're all from the same area. And so us and P Roach we're like, okay, we can do this. And that was it. And we just worked our butts off until basically the record industry couldn't ignore the crowds that we were drawing. And then we got some management, and all of a sudden we're doing, the showcase thing for all the major labels. Got a record deal when I was 21, and then spent the next 6 years touring. But prior to that, as we were building our band, I was teaching. I started teaching privately when I was 17. So basically, long story short, as I'm touring, I'm kind of being these 2 lives. I had this life of a touring drummer, but I was able to look back on my life as an educator and just think, like, as cheesy as this sounds, which one of these 2 things brings me more joy? Because I thought this touring life was what I was supposed to do. This is what my parents wanted for me. This is what the magazines tell me that I'm supposed to do. But I'm not enjoying it as much as I thought I would. I'm definitely not enjoying it as much as my bandmates. And that was really hard to witness, like how much fun my best friends were having. And I wasn't internally feeling the same thing. And then it's funny to be out on tour with, Stained or Korn or whoever we were out on tour with at the time because of the era. Unfortunately, it was all Rage Against the Corn Tones. But we were out at that time with those bands, which was as big as it got. I mean, every night was 25,000 people. And even though we were the opening band, but doing that and just being like, why am I fantasizing about teaching in a smelly room and like trying to make a breakthrough with a student? This is so weird. I should be living it up right now. So that was basically like the crossroads for my entire life. Was I got what I thought I was supposed to achieve, and the dream wasn't all it was cracked up to be.